The cold taste of revenge. So long story kinda short, you will need some backstory. I have an ex-best friend who I forgave more than too many times for screwing me over. Just for privacy context, let's call her that thing. For example, that thing had came in and slept with most of my boyfriends, 3 of my boyfriends, which, yes, saved me from those dudes, but still. Not cool. She copied my hair, my makeup, the movie quotes, I would say. To a point, it got so annoying. Also, she was like 2 years older than me. But anyway, I still forgave her as I felt sorry for her for having no originality. She's my sworn enemy. I am entitled to dig here and there. So anyway, getting on with this specific story. I've been with this guy for 2 years. He took my virginity. It was a pretty serious relationship. He was a photographer and I would model for him, and he would get other models too. He had this pretty fancy computer setup which he edited all his photographs on with a spin a chair, etc. Important later. So I was pretty much living with him at this point. The only days I wasn't living with him was when I had a full day at college. I would stay with my dad as it was closer to my college. That thing knew my boyfriend pretty well as they went to the same secondary school together, and she was at the time my best friend, so she would come over to his place a lot, have a cup of tea and chat, etc. One fine day, I was waiting for him to come back from university, and I decided to go to his photography album on his computer because I love looking at his pictures. He was very talented. I then stumbled on an album called Skype, which as I was going through these pictures was just playing in my head. So I thought of Kate and would look at the album. I clicked on the stamp album, and picture after picture of my boyfriend mastering online with a shit ton of women, some of whom I knew. My first thought was, these are probably old photos he hasn't deleted. And me being the detective, I was checked the details of when they were taken. They were pretty recent, within the year and a half of our relationship. I was mad. I was even more mad when I found the most recent screenshots of him and that thing. On Skype freaking getting *** together. Oh, I'll be damned if I stay there. Now, he had been treating me way different, especially at this point. He was on a short fuse, shall we say, but I put up with it. But after saying this, I was ready to leave. I packed all my things and put them on the floor by our bed. I must have went through every damn emotion I ever knew I had. But then an idea came brewing. I wanted him to remember this breakup as the most memorable breakup he ever had. But I still had like 3 hours left till he came home, and I hatched a plan. I was gonna do a Dr. Evil. I rehearsed what I would say to everything he would say to me. I spent an hour looking for his cat, sadly couldn't find her, but the story still works. I set myself up on a spin a chair and I set up the computer, so all I needed to sew was click the mouse and the pictures came up. During this time, I thought as well, I should probably send myself some proof of this infidelity, just in case. So I sent the picture of him and that thing, to my messenger and deleted my passwords, etc. off of his computer. Anyways, moving on. I waited on the spinny chair facing away from the door until I heard the front door open and footsteps coming up the stairs. It was him. So I sat up as he walked in the door. I span on my spinny chair, looked directly at him, and said, "I've been expecting you, Mr. C***NT. He looked at me and got angry. "Why are you being weird for?" he said. I said in the most sarcastic voice I could muster up, I don't W***, click**. I pushed the button on the mouse. He looked at me. He had lost all shine in his face. He looked at the computer. He looked at my bags at the end of the bed. And he said, "I am so sorry. It didn't mean anything, etc. The usual cheating, your fault, my fault, sorry, bullcrap." Yeah, I wasn't falling for that. I grabbed my things and walked toward the door. He wouldn't let me leave the room. I pushed past him. He chased after me, etc. IT gets better. So I go home. The next day, he posted a status on Facebook saying how I was crazy and blah blah blah, the same shit he told me about his ex. But publicly, I saw it as he hadn't blocked me yet, and he went to university and I knew he wouldn't. Check his phone. Now, I wasn't going to do anything about this status, frankly. I didn't care. I had my dad, may he rest in peace, until I saw that thing had commented on the status. "Yeah, I know, babe," etc. Ooh, the inner demon inside me started brewing, and it made me do evil things. The picture I so happily sent myself of those two fiddling with their didgeridoo. I posted it in the comment section, knowing full well that my ex would not see that post until at least 12 p.m., which, as I predicted, was when he took down the post. Most of his friends, if not all of them, messaged me, making sure I was okay, and his best friend, who did have a huge crush on me, before I met Mr. Cunt, offered me to come to his house party, where all of Mr. Cunt's friends were invited. So I got all dolled up like the goddess I was, and was the only woman at this male house party, and by God, what happened next was the best. During that night, the thing sent me a Snapchat of her at a party with Mr. Cunt ... Kissing him ... The ... sent directly to me ... So I showed all the boys, and then we made a video ... of all the boys kissing me on the cheek, and especially spicy kiss with, you guessed it, Mr. Cunt's best friend. Mr. Cuntham had the audacity to send me texts all night, which I blocked ... A few days later, he came to my house begging for me back, telling me that that thing was terrible in bed, etc., etc. I told him to F off and that he should go waste 2 years of her time. He wouldn't go away even when I slammed my door in his face, but my dad was home. He came to the door. He is 6'5" rugby player build and black belt in martial arts, looked him dead in the eye and said, "You better get off my doorstep before the police have to scrape you off it," and closed the door in his face. My dad turned to me and said, "I've always wanted to say that." And Mr. Cunt was never heard of again, other than when I hooked up with his bestie the second time. I tell my friends this dilemma I had myself in, and some of them find it hilarious, some of them call me an ass. Am I, though? Like, I was sugarcoating when I was telling the story about half off that thing's shit. But at the same time, to me, I'm over it, but I think it's a hilarious story of my past. Should I just stop telling it?